All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in to another video. So today's video, we're talking about stereo options for your 2017 to 2022 fifth generation Honda CRV. All right, so especially useful for those of you with an LX model 2017 to 2022 CRV that comes with the base stereo like this. You can get upper trim level performance and then a lot more with an aftermarket Join brand stereo that runs on an Android based platform. They do support both wireless and wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and I know that's important to many people. So there's 3 different models that you can get for your 5th gen CRV. I have 2 of them here. So I have the 9-inch Android 10 version. So this is the most factory looking unit out of all of them. You can see it's about the same size as the factory stereo. It looks similar to what you would get in an EX or above CRV from the factory. Has a nice large 9-inch display, some capacitive buttons right here, and a nice large physical volume control. The next one is the new 10.1-inch model. This now comes with Android 12, which is a completely different operating system. It has completely different Qualcomm hardware inside than the Android 10 units, and it is not possible to upgrade this to Android 12, just FYI. But it's not like a cell phone. It's not necessary to upgrade an Android 10 unit to get any more functionality. They work great the way they are. It's just the base layer that these units run on. So they did introduce some new features with the Android 12 software, being that it has new hardware. It can run a embedded SIM card a little bit better in the United States, one thing. A little more powerful hardware. It does have a built-in DVR into the unit now, so you can just run a traditional camera feed directly to the unit, and you can record your front and back cameras on an SD card in the unit itself, whereas on this model here, you ran a dash camera that recorded onto an SD card in the camera itself, but you could play back and view the files on this head unit. So I'm going to show you what both of them look like installed. That really may be your determining factor, because this one is a little bit larger. It's going to kind of take up some real estate that this one doesn't. And there's some pluses and minuses to the Android 10 and the Android 12 operating systems. They're both very good. So that's what I'm going to kind of do, is show you the differences. That way you can make an educated decision. Now, questions I get, will this work on an upper trim level model? Well, the answer is yes. So depending, when you order the stereo, whether you order it from Amazon, from the link that I put in the description, or directly from Join, you select what your factory head unit looks like, and they will send you the correct wiring harness to go with it. So in this case, this is for my LX model. It just has a few plugs on it. If you have like an EX or EXL or one with navigation, it will have more plugs on it, but rest assured everything will just plug in and work. Also included are some USB extension cables. I usually run one to the glove box, plug something in. They include some LTE antennas. Obviously there's a GPS antenna that we're going to need to install, and then they do include a USB adapter for the factory USB port. That way we can utilize the port that's down inside of it. It will work for Android Auto and CarPlay on there. And they do include an external microphone if you want to put one up here or something. That's another thing they did improve with the Android 12 unit, is the microphone clarity is a little bit better on the new unit. All right, so basically just to get the factory one out, this is a quick process. It's plug and play. We're going to take a non-marring pry tool or your fingers. We're just going to pry that out like this. You want to be careful that way you don't scratch anything up. I'm going to reach under here, push a little tab that will release this. So again, on our LX model, we have the unit that has the nice display readout. On an EX and above, obviously your readouts are on the screen here. All that stuff works with the joint stereo. There's a factory settings application on here, so just keep that in mind, including the on-display HVAC controls on your EX and above. All that stuff's there. It all works, so don't worry about that. All right, so once we get that off, there are a couple, looks like 8mm bolt screw under here that we need to take out. Alright, now you want to watch, because you'll scratch your dash all up. You set this down on there. So I've undone all the clips, and we're done with this. So real simple, we're going to take this, and we're just going to match everything up. So the antenna connection, it's hooked up here. So there's a USB adapter, so we take that. There's our USB port. So that's it. That's all the connections. Plug our antenna in. USB, this one we want to plug into the OTG port. Like I said, there's a bunch of other things you can do at the same time. If you want to hook up the LTE, Wi-Fi antenna is built in right here. You can hook up a subwoofer. It has digital audio outputs, regular old RCA outputs and inputs, a whole bunch of options. Just make sure before you hook it in that the CAN in and CAN out, the green and gray wires, are plugged together on here. And then obviously we'll need our GPS antenna to be hooked up. And you can mount it under the dash here. You just need to make sure there's no metal between the sky in here. So one place I like to do is just kind of, if you reach up over here, you can use some double-sided stick tape and stick it on top of the back of the instrument cluster. It seems to be a good place. You see the CAN box that comes with it here. So we'll just assume that everything's plugged in, like my GPS. And then the last thing we want to do is plug in the main harness here. And we'll kind of tuck everything back in. You will have to switch, take these white plastic clips off the factory stereo and transfer them over onto here. Just turn the key forward. This unit's been off for a long time, so it's going to go through a full boot up sequence. Normally it would be instant on when you turn the car on, so you get to see what a long boot looks like here. Alright, so there we are. This is our DVR app. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut it off so I can show you what a long or a short boot looks like. This is what you'll see. It will go into standby if you let the car sit for multiple days to avoid draining the battery. There we are. So I've got it set to run this app when I first load it up. Alright, so here we are. This is the home screen.
And my church is proudly alive. No, she's down. I am so sick, I need medical.
So right out of the box, superb improvement in sound quality. You can see when we turn on the headlights, it dims the screen and then makes everything transparent. It's kind of a neat menu effect. The latest software update. It's got a nice onboard music player, nice onboard video player.
Never experienced in the cinema.
As you can see, so everything works good. That's how it looks. So I get people sometimes that say, hey, my steering wheel controls aren't working right, or some of the factory options aren't working. So if we go to the menu here and we click factory settings, 3368 is the password, and we go to car model. Sometimes the CAN settings aren't set up correctly, so we're going to go car model. We want XP Honda CRV 2017. So you click what you want. And then an original car agreement. This is where you can turn on some of the things that, like reverse parking lines, to show you whether your doors show up on or off. If it's showing the wrong side, you can switch them. Like if your rear door AC information on or off, that's where, like I said, if you turn on the air conditioning controls, it'll show on there. So a lot of that stuff's in here. And you can set Fahrenheit or Celsius, so just FYI. And then get out of here. If you go all the way back to the home screen, I'll show you the factory settings application for vehicle settings. So again, air conditioning control. That's where you would get to this. And then here, and base info. So this is what I'm talking about. If we go to setup, this is where you can do all of the things that you would do on the factory stereo. Now, again, I have an LX here, so I don't have like any of the options that you would on an EX or above. But this is the app you would use to get to that stuff. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take this one out real quick, and it's the same thing. I'm going to pop the Android 12 unit in so you can see how it looks. So this is the fit and finish of the Android 10 unit here. Alright, so real quick before I put that one in, I was going to show, so this is what I would consider the pros to this unit. So number one, the size. Like I said, it's a very nice size. Number two, the way that it processes, I shouldn't say, the equalizer settings. So we go to the equalizer, see we have this EQ here. This is pretty easy to set up because you can select from standard settings, and then if you want to tweak it, it will automatically save it to your user settings. And you can get very good sound quality out of the factory speakers with this unit. These are all your different, like for subwoofers and bass enhancement, and you can cut certain frequencies and different speakers and all that stuff. So this is what I would consider the pro to this unit. Is it's actually simpler than the Android 12 units, and it's much easier to use for the just regular user, someone who just wants to upgrade the factory system. They want it to sound a little better and have more functionality. This unit might be the best choice. I'm going to recommend the Android 10 unit over the Android 12. Now, if you really like to nerd out over this stuff and want to go nuts, the Android 12 unit is probably for you. All right, so the connections in the back of the Android 12 unit are essentially the same. You have your coaxial and optical digital outputs if you will use an external amplifier. You have your subwoofer, mono output. You have 2 sets of RCA outputs, RCA and video input for the auxiliary screen. You have your 2 4G connections, your GPS antenna connection. We also have a front camera connection, and then also a camera power wire, which is the purple wire in this, and that's for using Joying's AR camera setup, which includes a dash camera and a backup camera. If you want to use that optional setup, you can use any camera system you want. The unit supports multiple protocols, both analog and AHD digital cameras in both PAL and NTSC format. So we're going to get this plugged in and boot it up here. All right, so we've got this one in. Go into factory settings. I got to change a couple things on here. So in factory settings, the password is 8888. We're going to change our model. So in this case, simple. This is Honda. So this one we want simple, Honda. We'll click Honda DA. Save. It should already be set up when you get it, but now in this one, if we go to that, it's car info. That's like that system settings app. So it's showing history. It's fuel mileage, 31.3 miles per gallon, which matches what I have on the instrument cluster. And this is your trip A and B information. Go to settings. This is where you have all those settings that would be on your factory EX and above unit. We don't have that obviously on our LX here. But the stuff's, not everything in here works, but it does work because you can see if I click speed distance units, I can switch between kilometers an hour and miles per hour on the instrument cluster. So you can see with this one, it does slightly obstruct the air conditioner vents. Now, in my practical application of this, I've never had that be a problem. Like, there's still enough where the air can get over it fine and hit you and your passenger. But it is just, you can see kind of from the side here, just barely above the bottom of the vent. But that's the price you're going to pay if you want a larger screen. So it's even worse if you get the 11.6 inch model. It's really going to come up into your vent, and then you lose the physical volume knob. I really like having that physical volume knob. So another thing, real quick, while we're talking about volume, in addition to the steering wheel controls and the volume knob right here, there's gesture controls on the radio. So one of the things is volume. So if you take two fingers and swipe, you can turn the volume way up, or you can just drag it with your finger. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. I just wanted to show you a couple of quick, easy upgrades, plug and play for your 5th generation CRV. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. Subscribe for more content related to your 5th gen CRV. And I'll have links in the description to where you can buy both of these units if you're interested. Which one you choose, that's up to you and your style. All right, hopefully the video was helpful. Until next time, thanks for watching.